What are those traits which you find are must-have for a founder for you to put your money on? Like there are some traits that stand out and you cannot do without.
Finding a founder that you end up investing in is a little bit like falling in love. And it's hard to put it in quantitative terms. I mean, you're looking for founders that are exceptionally bright. So intellect is at the core of it.
Absolutely.
You're looking for an exceptional level of grit.
Yeah.
You are looking for first principles problem solving.
Yeah.
You're looking for motivation. Mm-hmm. And very often the motivation comes from some sort of chip on their shoulders. Because grit is critical, but it's not enough. You also want something that drives them to go that extra 10%.
Yeah.
And that is often a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
You're looking, for some insight. That insight could be domain knowledge. It could be a technical insight.
Yeah.
It could be having thought about that problem in a unique way. Yeah. But you do need some level of insight. So I think those are some of the attributes. I would say, intellect, some insight, grit, a chip on their shoulder.
And does pedigree matter to you at all at this point? I know early on you insisted on pedigree.
I think pedigree is a loaded term. We're all trying to assess these things.
Right.
Pedigree is one way to assess these things.
One way to assess. That's fair
enough,
yeah.
The earlier someone is in their career, the harder it is to assess without pedigree.
Right.
So if you have been working for 10 years, and it doesn't matter what school you went to because I can look at what you have done for 10 years.
Yeah.
But if you are in your early 20s and your career experience is limited, then pedigree becomes a proxy for many of those attributes.
So that's indeed insightful. Building on that, now here they are, your dream, a suite of founders. Now your real job begins. You have to build them into scalable business owners. How do you do that? What are your building blocks? And how does your IIT and training or you being part of the IIT community help you, achieve that network effect or what you may call it? Yeah.
So, I talk about this a lot in my podcast, B2B as CEO, because, and the origin of the podcast was exactly this. I was struggling with the question of how do you take a technical founder who, most technical founders have managed small teams. They may have managed a team of 5 or 10 or 15 people. They've never been salespeople themselves. They've never been CEOs. And I've really enjoyed and specialized in working with technical founders who are first-time CEOs. Yeah. And helping them grow from a CTO in a sense, because when the company has 3 or 4 people, there's no difference between a CTO and a CEO, irrespective of the title. Yeah. Into successful CEOs of companies that are managed, that are hundreds of millions in revenues, is something that both gives me joy, but also has been key to, the little success I've had. So the question is how? Let's come back to the how. I think first and foremost, people learn differently, so that there's no formulaic answer. But in most cases, it comes with a little bit of experience. Mm-hmm. It comes with some mentors, so finding a way to match them to mentors, finding a way to sort of help them identify how to break down the problem. Because, say, learn to sell is a very high level problem. Yeah. But if you can help someone understand how do I do first calls? How do I build a sales deck? Yeah. How do I define the ICP or the ideal customer profile for my product? If you break the problem down to manageable chunks and then help them sort of acquire those skills, you put them on a staircase to success.
And are there any forcing milestones you ask them to meet when they come to you, when they're under your wing?
The milestones vary depending on the person and the situation. I find that I don't have to give founders milestones for the large
because
part.
They're so driven.
They're so driven themselves. They come up with their own milestones. Okay. If anything, my job is to be a shock absorber. When things are going exceptionally well and they're killing it on all those milestones, I always remind them that tomorrow might not look as good. Yeah. And when things are really hard and it feels like there is no light, I always remind them that, the night is darkest before dawn. That's the balance that I help them find.